This is the state of the culture. I am a radical. My ideology is viewed as radical. My religion is viewed as radical. My content is radical. My household is radical. Today I want to teach you how to become a radical just like me. You see, our culture has flipped what is normal and radical onto its head. What used to be normal is the new radical, and what is radical is the new normal. It's hard to tell exactly what is radical and what is normal. And I'm here to help you with a simple recipe that will help you on your journey to becoming a radical. If you want to become a radical, you simply need to follow this simple recipe. 1. Value individual liberty. 2. Believe in God. 3. Desire to keep your government out of your life. 4. Don't ever get a vaccine. This is a great, surefire way to be labeled a radical. 5. Be skeptical of media from all outlets. 6. Grow your own food. 7. Be independent and not reliant on the government systems. 8. Speak your mind even when threatened. 9. Build a community of like-minded people. And 10. Live an excellent life of driven purpose. If you do these 10 things, you surely will be labeled a radical. And there are many more ways that I did not list here that will guarantee your status of a radical, so feel free to get creative in your quest of radicalness in this clown world. Knowing that the word radical is thrown around so loosely, I decided to look up the actual definition. I knew I needed to hurry since they keep changing definitions of known words to fit agendas daily. Here's what I found from a simple internet search. The word radical means departing markedly from the usual or customary, extreme or drastic, or relating to fundamental or revolutionary changes in current practices, conditions, or institutions. Let's think about who is pushing revolutionary changes to current practices, conditions, or institutions. It certainly isn't those who believe in the natural order of things. We simply abide by natural law. So who are the true radicals? A reality we currently live in is the fact that the extreme left has owned the conversation. They have successfully redefined language and created terms to fit their agendas. They have played the game with exceptional tactics, and in fact, we can learn a lot about how to correct our nation from the moves that they have made today and in the past. Although they are the true radicals, they have successfully labeled anyone who thinks differently than them as a radical. The fact is, the term radical is just a loose adjective or noun. It doesn't really mean anything. Each of us defines what radical actually means. What is radical to one might be common to another. Let's consider the word wars that they have put us through due to political correctness culture over the last decade. Words that were once normal vocabulary are targeted, and anyone using them is labeled, you guessed it, radical. Or they will just call you a bigot, xenophobe, homophobe, or whatever other phobe they have chosen for that particular day. The grandest irony of all is the ones screaming radical from the rooftop are actually the ones with the most radical viewpoints. Let me give you one example. My wife stays home with my children. We are a traditional family where I am the sole provider for my family. I go to work, and my wife stays home. She keeps the house in order, schools our children from home, raises our garden, and preps our meals, and we live by a traditional set of values. Values that were accepted as normal for thousands of years. This is now called radical by many. Not only that, they would state that I am oppressing my wife. On the flip side, what society tells women to do is completely abandon their call to raise a family. Society tells women that the empowered state is to work constantly to compete with men at higher levels. Society tells these women that it is better for them to send their kids to a daycare that costs nearly what they make in a yearly income for the achievement and title of being called a provider. Society looks down upon men who encourage their wives to be a homemaker, and we reject the idea that much of what has caused the degradation of culture is because of the removal of traditional roles and expectations. Society slanders men who instill traditional values into young men around them, and society claims that we do not need masculinity and that the foundations of masculinity are oppressive. A woman in her 20s with her body count in the 20s is viewed as empowered, but a woman who desires to be with one man is called radical or oppressed by the patriarchy. A woman cannot create her own self-worth except by using men sexually to achieve her end goal of tearing down the system, this is the new normal? Can we honestly not see the irony in this? Our culture is at a point where what is said to be reality is actually the opposite. And the grand irony is that humans believe that we can create and change natural order, but natural order always resets. We can attempt to create whatever systems we believe we must in order to tear down the patriarchy, only to find out that when shit hits the fan, the patriarchy is begged for. Who do you want responding in your time of need? Be honest with yourself. You're entitled to whatever flavor of ignorance you desire, so choose as you must. Men are called to be protectors and providers. This isn't radical, this is DNA. This is history. This is natural order. We are called to be capable of violence in order to defend, capable of strength in order to provide. What is radical is the rejection of these natural truths. We reject the truth as if we as people somehow know better than nature. We believe that through wokeness we can somehow tame what makes us uncomfortable. A woman rejects her baby and destroys it in the womb, and this is completely acceptable. A child being raised to believe there are only two genders is radical. A child being put on puberty blockers at 8 years old is acceptable to this culture. A child being raised to believe that all races of people are equal and entitled to the same liberty is radical. A child being taught that they are inherently racist for the color of their skin is expected. A child being told that they are at a disadvantage because of their skin is normal. A child being told to earn their way and that there are no free rides for anyone regardless of skin color, gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, or anything else is radical. Earning your way is radical. Committing to one person for life is radical. Becoming excellent is radical. Speaking the truth regardless of how it makes someone feel or if it hurts their feelings is radical. Believing in the natural order of things is radical. Believing in only two genders is radical. Criticizing the media and the woke mob is radical. Believing in God makes you a radical. Eating natural foods is radical. Being free of addiction is radical. Turning off all mainstream media is radical. Being a free thinker is radical. But putting on virtual goggles and living a life in the metaverse void of true physical interaction is touted as normal. Hungering for community of like-minded people in the real world makes you a radical. If you believe any of the above statements, you are most definitely a radical in the eyes of this culture. If the definition of normal is overweight, unhappy, gender confused, non-productive, sensitive, and weak, then I don't want any part of it anyway. I happily reject this normal. And I'll happily be labeled as a radical, as a free man destined to do great things. I will wear the title with honor, as should you. There was a time when the PC culture owned the conversation, but that time has long passed. There was a time when simply uttering a word like retarded would get you shut down by the woke mob or the cancel culture. Our culture is resetting as we speak. No longer can the woke mob and PC police dictate the conversation. In fact, they never had the power to determine what is radical and what is normal from the start. Natural law does this for us, and anytime we go against natural order, there will be a reset. For those deemed radical, welcome. You are part of the true reset of our culture. I am a radical because I believe in the foundations of our existence. I'm a radical because I cannot be swayed by useful idiots. I am a radical because I am independent, strong, and unable to be controlled. I'm a radical because I speak freely without fear of those who desire to oppress us. I am a radical because I simply exist. And this is the state of our culture.